First, welcome to our deep dive on the legal immutability of U.S. citizenship when unexpected DNA revelations surface years later. In this video, we will explore why citizenship conferred at birth is generally secure, how legal parentage works, and why later genetic discoveries rarely change that status. Next, here is our roadmap. We will begin with the high-level rule, then examine how the presumption of paternity works for children born in wedlock. After that, we will look at why documentation like a consular report of birth abroad and a U.S. passport matter. Then we will connect those principles to statutes of limitation for challenging parentage. Moving forward, we will discuss the tension between moral injury and legal stability, before ending with concrete steps, 2 short quizzes, and key takeaways. Now, a quick but important note. This video provides general information and is not a substitute for legal advice. Laws vary by state and country. Facts matter, and outcomes depend on specific circumstances. If you face a real case, consult a qualified immigration or family law attorney licensed in the relevant jurisdiction. Then, let's establish the foundation. U.S. citizenship can attach at birth through a U.S. citizen parent if statutory requirements are met. For children born abroad, the law emphasizes legal parentage, not strictly biological ties. When a child is born to a married couple, the husband is typically presumed to be the legal father. This presumption is very strong. If the required conditions were met, and the child's status was documented at birth, often via a consular report of birth abroad, a birth certificate, or a U.S. passport, that legal status is secure. Importantly, later DNA discoveries generally do not unwind the legal determination that existed at birth, absent fraud by the individual beneficiary, which is not the case for an infant. In other words, a post-birth genetic surprise does not typically negate a validly conferred citizenship status. Meanwhile, let's visualize how timing affects legal challenges to parentage. Many states impose short windows, often on the order of 2 to 4 years, but this varies widely, in which the presumed legal father or other authorized parties may seek to rebut parentage. After those windows close, courts frequently bar challenges as untimely to promote finality for the child and the family. By the time adulthood arrives, the legal father typically remains the legal father for purposes that mattered at birth, including the basis upon which citizenship was recognized. The key point is that these deadlines differ by state, and outcomes depend on specific facts, but the general pattern favors stability once documentation has issued and time limits pass. Next, let's unpack the presumption of paternity. If a child is born while the parents are legally married, most jurisdictions presume the husband is the legal father. When he signs the birth certificate or otherwise acknowledges paternity, this legal tie becomes even more entrenched. While some jurisdictions allow limited avenues to rebut paternity, they typically require timely action and specific proof. If 2, 4, or more years have passed, many statutes bar the challenge. Consequently, later DNA evidence does not usually invalidate the legal relationship that existed at birth, because the law prioritizes the child's stability and reliance on official records over belated genetic findings. Now let's compare moral injury and legal stability. On the moral side, a deceived spouse may feel profound betrayal and seek to correct what seems unjust in light of DNA evidence. There can be serious emotional and financial consequences. On the legal side, however, the system values stability and finality. It protects the child's settled status and identity by relying on official records and statutory time limits. If late discovered genetic facts could unravel citizenship, it would threaten the reliability of documents issued years or decades earlier. Thus, legal stability typically outweighs moral outrage in this context. Moving on, if non-paternity is discovered long after birth, begin by organizing all key documents: the consular report of birth abroad, the birth certificate, the U.S. passport, and any relevant court orders. Then consult qualified attorneys, often both family law and immigration counsel, because the intersection of state parentage rules and federal citizenship law is nuanced. Evaluate whether any statutes of limitation exist and whether they have elapsed. Do not assume that DNA alone will alter legal status. Plan communication strategically with guidance from counsel. Finally, focus on stability and well-being. The child's legal status is likely secure, and counseling support may help address the moral and emotional dimensions. Next, here is a quick knowledge check. The question asks whether later DNA proof that the presumed father is not biological can typically revoke citizenship documented at birth. Option A says DNA always overrides legal documents. Option B says only if the government orders a new DNA test. Option C says no, later DNA usually does not undo citizenship validly conferred at birth. Option D says yes, but only if the child never used a U.S. passport. You may pause the video now to consider your answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section. Now the correct answer is no. Later DNA usually does not undo citizenship validly conferred at birth. Citizenship is a legal status anchored in statutory requirements and documentation at the time of birth. Absent fraud by the individual beneficiary, later genetic discoveries typically do not invalidate that legal status. Additionally, let's review the paperwork that anchors status. A consular report of birth abroad serves as official recognition that U.S. citizenship was conferred at birth overseas. A U.S. passport is recognized evidence of U.S. citizenship and identity. A certified birth certificate is a vital record that often lists the legal father, supporting identity, and legal parentage. Any court orders may further define legal relationships. Together, these documents underscore why status recognized at birth is treated as settled and secure. Furthermore, this sequence connects the dots. A U.S. citizen parent and foreign spouse provide marriage and birth records to the U.S. consulate, which issues a CRBA and passport to the child, reflecting citizenship at birth. Years later, DNA testing reveals non-paternity. The parent may attempt to challenge paternity in state court, but such efforts are often time-barred under statutes of limitation designed to protect family stability. As a result, the legal father remains the legal father, and the child's U.S. citizenship, conferred and documented at birth, remains intact. Next, let's do one more quick quiz. The question asks, what factor carries more weight for citizenship at birth when a child is born in wedlock abroad? Option A is genetic connection only. Option B is the legal parentage presumption of the husband, assuming statutory conditions are met. Option C is whether the child lives in the United States before age 18. Option D is whether the parents later divorce. You may pause the video now to think about your answer, and we will discuss the answer in the next section. Now, the correct answer is the legal parentage presumption of the husband, assuming statutory conditions are met. For children born in wedlock, legal parentage, rather than genetics alone, anchors the citizenship determination. This presumption is strong, and typically must be challenged promptly, if at all. Finally, here are the key points. First, citizenship at birth is a legal status, and genetics alone rarely change it. Second, the wedlock presumption makes the husband the legal father, which strongly influences the analysis. Third, documents such as the CRBA and a U.S. passport anchor and stabilize the child's status. Fourth, many jurisdictions impose short deadlines for challenging parentage, and once those expire, courts often bar later challenges. Fifth, while the moral injury to a deceived spouse is significant, the legal system prioritizes stability for the child's status. In summary, we have seen that citizenship conferred at birth rests on legal parentage and timely documentation, not merely on genetics. Documentation and statutes of limitation together provide strong stability for the child's status, and later DNA revelations rarely change that legal outcome. For specific cases, always consult qualified counsel, because facts and laws vary. As a final visual, the Mindmap organizes our core themes: legal parentage through the wedlock presumption and acknowledgments, documentation such as CRBA, passports, and birth certificates, timing considerations with short challenge windows and legal finality, the role of DNA discoveries that typically do not unwind status, and the importance of consulting specialized counsel given jurisdictional differences. Before we close, thank you for watching. If this video brought clarity, please like, share, and subscribe for more explainers. In the comments, tell us what questions you still have and what topics you want next. Your feedback shapes future episodes.